Hi guys, welcome back. So another follow-up video to the Rugby World Cup. Now, England having a very good campaign right up until the final when they were very disappointing. A lot of the players soul-searching, wondering what went wrong, you know, and that conversation's one for another day, but I did cover it in my review. Selection problems, psychology problems potentially. South Africa were amazing, England were poor, and they fail in their goal of winning the Rugby World Cup. So what's going to happen with England in the next World Cup cycle? Building towards France 2023. And it looks like Eddie, who has 2 years left to run on his contract, will probably take up those 2 years, and the RFU will be happy for him to take up those 2 years. Whether you think that's right or wrong, please let me know. I'm unsure. What's weird though is if he's going to hand off to a coach halfway through, that seems a bit harsh on the coach. But I think it does make sense in some ways if that coach is Steve Borthwick. And to me, I think that's what that's building towards. Unless things go terribly wrong for Eddie in the next year or so, and they might change it a bit earlier, that's what I think maybe we're going to see. So he'll have experience with these current players, and he's going to have a plan in place so he's not cold coming into this job, and that transition between Eddie and potentially Borthwick will be quite smooth. Possibly. Let me know what you think about that idea, succession plans and all that sort of thing. Anyway, following the World Cup, it's good to hear that Eddie is acknowledging that this England team has come to an end. They failed in their task and now they have to rebuild for a new World Cup cycle. And in the next 4 years, they need to lose the baggage of this World Cup. Well, they will be retaining quite a lot of their players. They need to reset for sure. So we're going to look at which players maybe England are looking to retain, possibly towards all the way through to the World Cup. You never know, form, injury, age, all these sorts of things. But I'm picking the players I think they're probably going to be aiming to retain through the whole cycle. Which players they are not going to retain straight away, so the ones that are out straight away. Those who they might consider retaining for a few years to help the transition of the newer players, then which players are going to probably or hopefully come in straight away, and which we might be looking at as potential prospects in that 4-year cycle. So simple as that. Right, in this first section, the retaining players, I'm only talking about the ones from this World Cup squad. So first of all, and I've also put in the ages they will be come the next World Cup, just to give you an idea of experience levels and who might be a bit too old, etc. But anyway, Cowan, Dickey, George and Singleton. There's no reason to drop any of those hookers straight away. Certainly Cowan, Dickey and George actually performed fairly well, or very well to be honest. Singleton we hardly saw any of, so he'll be one where he'll be watched closely, but I don't know if he'll be dropped straight away. Let me know if he needs more development or if you think he should stay in. Prop-wise, well, Genge will be 28 come the next World Cup. He'll be in a very good age bracket. I've got a lot of high hopes for him. Sinclair will be 30, hopefully has another World Cup in him. He was devastated, obviously not being able to carry on in the final. But he's been very good for England this year, really his best year internationally. Mako Vunipola may well be around 32 years of age for a prop, certainly isn't unheard of. He's very skillful, so hopefully he'll be back for a whole cycle, but you never know how age catches up with you. Toje will be 28, should be absolutely in his prime, injury aside. He could be even better than this World Cup. I think he's actually been excellent for England this year. Then you've got the young flankers, Tom Curry, Ludlam and Underhill, 25, 27, 27 respectively. Hopefully all of those will be involved. You never quite know how they're going to develop, and I do think they're going to have a lot of pressure from other young flankers coming in, but you certainly wouldn't discard them straight away. Big Billy will be 30, so again, hopefully, injury aside, form aside, he'll still be in the squad. Then scrum halves. Retaining Spencer, I'm coming to the others later. He'll be 31, so will he be too old come the next World Cup? Is he someone who should have played more in this current year? But I definitely think he was the best English scrum half of the last year and should definitely be retained. And Ford and Farrell will again be 31, 30 respectively. Could well be still number 1 and 2 or in and around the squad, certainly dispensing their knowledge and their experience. They're so competitive, they'll be desperate to make another World Cup, and age and form willing, they'll get there. Then Slade will be 30, so he may well still be around, certainly no reason to drop him. Thokanasiga, 25, I'm hoping, you never know, but I'm hoping he will be an absolute well-beating winger. Noel will be 30, Watson 29 and Daly 30, so they could well still be around. Daly's had some pressure, maybe a switch back to the wing, maybe 13, might be a better call for him, take a bit of that pressure off. He has been found out in this World Cup defensively and under the high ball, that is for sure, but he is excellent, skills kicking in the attack, so I would potentially move him out of 15 and switch that around. Interesting to see what happens there. I hope that does happen, actually. Anyway, on to the next section, not retained. Now, these players, I'm not saying they're not good enough, I'm just saying I can't see the point of them carrying on into the next cycle. Dan Cole's been amazing for England. He's performed as well as I think he could have performed in that World Cup. He'll be 36. I'm pretty sure he won't make the next World Cup, and I would look at new options straight away. Hines and Youngs, well, this was their World Cup, and they did okay, but came up short, certainly in the final, and Youngs' form was kind of patchy. So I would look for a whole new set of scrum halves, really. Well, Spencer's in there, but he's pretty new, and then look to bring some new blood in and freshen up that area. If you were to rate them over the whole World Cup compared to the other countries' scrum halves, I don't think they'd come that highly, to be honest. Francis and McConaughey were in there for their versatility of the squad, and they did their job. But again, I haven't really seen anything of them to say they are definitely worth retaining, so I'd send them back to their clubs and see what their form is like. Now, the following list is players that I would retain, but probably won't make the next cycle, and they'd be used to help bring on the youngsters in that transition period. You probably wouldn't say that to their face, but this is kind of the plan you might have for them. So Cruz, Launchbury and Laws, one of those maybe or two could make the next World Cup, but 33, 32, 34, age won't be particularly on their side. Have any of them been outstanding? Well, in patches, yes. Potentially no, I don't know. So I'm just leaving them there in that transition period. Let me know if they should be in a different section. Wilson, again, I'm not sure he's going to make the next World Cup cycle, even though he's been excellent, but I'd use him as transition. And then for the backs, age catches up with them a bit quicker because they obviously need to be quicker. So Joseph, Tuolangi and May, I'm just not sure they would make the next World Cup cycle. They're certainly too good not to retain in the squad, but I see them more as a transition backs to bring on some youngsters. Okay, let's have a look at who's going to be in almost straight away or very soon into this England squad, or who I think obviously should be in. I'd love to know your thoughts. So front rows. For young front rows, it's very hard to say who's going to be excellent. So the ones I've seen who I think should be back in straight away, Harry Thacker, the Bristol hooker, has been very, very good. He's an explosive hooker. He's a bit different. He'll be 29 come the next World Cup, so an ideal age for him. So I'd bring him in and have a look. Harry Williams will be 32 come the next World Cup. Very unlucky not to make this squad. I think he's got a lot to offer. Certainly power size scrummaging. He could be a man there. Then some youngsters coming straight in. I would bring Joel Kapoku straight into the squad. Maybe not playing straight away, but training, possibly on the bench a few times. I really have high hopes for this young second row. Maybe on his way to Northampton to get more regular game time. And maybe escaping Saracens at the right time with their massive points fine, but that's for a discussion for another day. Anyway, Ted Hill is a big blindside flanker / back row who I've got high hopes for again. He'll be 24 come the next World Cup. Definitely worth having a look at him very soon. Tom Curry's brother Ben Curry, I think absolutely could be as good as Tom. He's very motivated to do so. Then you've got big Alex Dombrandt, who could well be a number 8 or a second row or a big 6. I really think he could be a real asset to a big, strong England pack. Definitely bring him in straight away. 26 come the next World Cup. And don't forget Sam Simmonds. What an explosive back row player he is. I'm just not sure what position he'd play for England. I can only always think what would have happened if he'd been a 12 potentially, if he'd developed into a centre, maybe he'd have been straight in. But he is back row. What position would he play? Let me know. But he's certainly got the talent. Then the 2 scrum halves. Dan Robson, I think, deserves another look. He was unfortunate to miss out on the World Cup, got an injury at the wrong time. And I think young Harry Randall, did have in this category, but I think I'm just going to watch his form for a bit before bringing him straight in. But he's definitely that fast, nippy scrum half that England may be looking for. Interestingly, Joe Simpson has actually been in great form, but I think age-wise, it might just be a bit late for him getting into that England squad, which is a shame. Number 10s, there's quite a few young number 10s around, but Marcus Smith now needs to come in, I believe, play a bit of a bigger role in England, start getting some bench time and some starts and really developing him as the next big number 10. He'll be 24, so still young come the next World Cup, but I'd like to see him dripped in from the start. As I would Joe Marchant, who's been biding his time, playing fantastically well at 13 for Harlequins. And Ollie Thorley is definitely worth a look at straight away on the wing. They'd both be 27 come the next World Cup, so an ideal age. Okay, so the last group is what players I am looking at, seeing how they're going to be developing. There's loads more players that could be on this list. Let me know who else you would put on this list. But just some players for consideration over this next 4-year cycle, depending on how they develop, is young Alfie Barbary. He is a hooker. Very explosive, incredibly talented. He'll be 23 come the next World Cup. Could be too early, I don't know. He's had not the greatest start to international rugby, being sent off in the under-20s World Cup straight away, but he'll be back. He's one to watch. So yeah, hooker. Then back rows now, fair few back rows. Tom and Jack Willis, I would definitely have a look at. They're big, uncompromising back rows for Wasps, real prospects, could play all across the back row. They've definitely got potential, as has young Aaron Hinkley, very quick back row, open side I believe, as is Ben Earl, who's starting to make his name for Saracens now. So a lot of back rows coming through for England, interestingly after a period where they were quite sparse in that area. 2 fly halves I'd be watching out for. Joe Simmonds would be 26. James Grayson would be 25 come the next World Cup. Very, very solid fly halves. Maybe a little bit different to some of the others. You could certainly build a game plan around these guys. So watch them. Centre-wise, I want to have a look at Ollie Lawrence, how he develops at Worcester. Speed, power, unbelievable, a real precocious talent. May have to work on some of his skills, but could well develop into a really dangerous player. And in the backs, Gabriel Ibitoy is someone I'm watching very closely for Harlequins. Very young, but already incredibly powerful and quick on the wing. Could be a very interesting handful, a bit like a Jack Nowell type player. Powerful, smaller, squat, fast acceleration. He's an exciting prospect. Anyway, guys, those are my lists. They're the players I'm watching, the ones I'm looking to retain, to bring in straight away, to leave out, to keep an eye on. Please let me know what you guys think, and until next time, I will see you then.